rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
You know, when we get a new president here in the United States, well, let's look at that first 100 days. Sort of a benchmark. It's tradition. What do they get accomplished? Of course, in that context, you have a campaign. You have promises that are made for months and years leading up to it. And as the Dave Filoni era, the presidency, the new administration moves in to the C-suite of Lucasfilm, what can we expect? Did Dave make any campaign promises? Now, I know it wasn't a campaign, but was it? Was it? Has Dave Filoni been campaigning for this job for a long time? I mean, some would say so. But we will analyze all of that and a whole lot more in the wake of this, what many people are, especially Star Wars fans, are very excited about, the possibility of a new era in Star Wars creative, those big decisions, those big creative decisions being made by the guy, the only guy that was ever actually taught how to make Star Wars, and that's Dave Filoni. He is a unique individual, and if you're looking at pedigree in terms of his proximity to the maker himself, no one else comes close. Hard to argue with, but the results will definitely speak for themselves. Plus, Kathleen Kennedy's leftovers, right? What were the open loops that she left after her term as president? Well, we're going to go through each of those one by one, and we'll make some predictions about what we think might happen. And, of course, if there's time, get into Star Wars and pop culture and maybe some listener feedback and all that and so much more here on Rebel Force Radio. So grateful for you to be with us once more, offering the very best in Star Wars conversation. We are the very source for your force. And by we, I mean my name is Jason, and with me, as always, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Begun. The Filoni era has. Yes, and we'll be looking ahead and looking back at all things Dave Filoni as this show continues on forward. But let's talk Mando for a second and the upcoming movie. Jason and I, we were just talking before the show about how pumped up we are for the Mandalorian and Grogu to open. And of course, we were talking a little bit about that on the show recently and how we really haven't seen much marketing for the upcoming film. And we got some feedback that I thought was pretty interesting. Most notably from @ToughLuck on YouTube. He says, I disagree that the marketing for the Mando and Grogu is non-existent. See, remember we were saying, where's the marketing?
Right.
It was kind of like how the marketing was really muted for Solo. Star Wars story. Yeah, this time of year in 2018. And we were making that comparison, and I think it was fair. But according to @ToughLuck, he says he's seen the trailer many times in the theaters, like many others, in front of films like Tron Ares.
I wouldn't say like many others.
Hold on, let me finish reading what ToughLuck had to say. He says, like many others in front of films like Tron Ares, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, Predator, Badlands, all the movies he sees has colons in the title.
Well, because they're all franchise films, right? I mean, they're all...
Right, yeah, they're all franchise films. Zootopia 2 and Avatar, Fire and Ash. One of the trailers had a custom IMAX countdown themed to The Mandalorian and Grogu. So Tough
Are
Luck
we really going to
says-
count the trailer being? Of course, there's a movie poster probably in the theater lobby as well.
Yes.
I don't
Right.
think that's really what I certainly wasn't what I had in mind when I said that there's lackluster marketing. Yeah, I would hope that there's a film trailer. That's the bare minimum. There's no restaurant or retail tie-ins that I can tell. I'm sure we would have heard about something by now.
I heard that there is going to be a Mandalorian and Grogu Happy Meal. So, Swank, you're in business. I think there's going to be a McDonald's tie-in.
Okay. Well, now we're talking, okay? I mean, your litmus test is Play-Doh. Mine is a Happy Meal or some sort of value meal.
Maybe the toy inside the Happy Meal will be Play-Doh, and they'll kill two birds with one stone.
Yes.
Two podcasters with one stone.
Well, that makes me happy. Okay, I like the, no pun intended, I like the Happy Meal coming out. And, I've noticed there's also this trend where have you seen these adult Happy Meals? Like there's a Friends themed Happy Meal that's coming out. Yeah, so but it's aimed obviously at adults, or as some of these people like to be referred to, kidults. Have you heard that term? I'm a kidult.
I've heard that for a long time actually. Kidult. Give me a break. But I'll tell you this. What's like the premium that comes with a Friends Happy Meal? Do you get like a smelly cat or something? What?
You're close. The only premium that I saw was, the little picture frame that they had over the little what do you call that? The little peephole in the door.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that you could get. I don't know about a smelly cat.
No, well, beggars can't be choosers. But we have just to wrap up things with Tough Luck, who apparently he is the guy who's still going to the movie theaters like it's 2005.
Good for him, man. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, right. He probably, goes solo, doesn't have a wife and kids. I'm sorry, Tough Luck, but your name is Tough Luck, so I thought maybe you're just flying solo. And you don't have to cover them for the slushies and the popcorn and the $20 tickets a piece.
Dude. When I said that we went to see SpongeBob, it was me, my wife, and the two kids. The tickets were like nothing compared to the food. Because we went to one of those where you can actually have a meal, and they bring the food to you, like the bistro.
Yeah.
Holy cow. I mean, like... the prices are like, $22 hamburgers, like that kind of just outrageous cost. So it was insane.
Yeah. Well, the $20 to $25 burger is really becoming kind of more the norm than you'd think. So sad, but we try to stretch our dollar. If you go to one of those specialty theaters, you're going to be dropping a lot of change, and you got to understand that going in. And I do. That's why I only order popcorn at those places. And even the popcorn's like $20. So I mean, I can't win.
Right.
You can't win. You can't be frugal even. So sometimes I sneak my own stuff into theaters, though.
Oh, you got to do that.
I definitely like
especially wintertime. You can wear a big bulky coat, slip a couple of cans in there. Yeah.
I pop into the Walgreens and I pick up those little boxes of candy, and I know what everyone in the family likes, so I stock up on those. So when they go drifting over to that godforsaken concession stand, I'm like, hey, and I just kind of rattle. I shake the coat a little bit in the pocket, something rattles in there. Yeah. I'm loaded up, Should get like a Chewbacca bandolier just filled with candy.
Yeah, the old school Kenner one is what you need. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just filled with candy instead of action figures. Has anybody done that? Anybody used the Chewbacca bandolier to smuggle candy into the movie theater? What a cool retro thing to do.
Yeah, let us know. Show at rebelforceradio.com. But
coming soon, Rich Brendel video. I can see it.
Eric from Phoenix,
right?
He gets busted.
Yeah, he gets pinched
up against the wall. Yeah, So that's great. So he's seeing the Mando trailer, and so there is marketing going on within the movie theaters. But I think they need to be working on the people who haven't been going to the movie theaters lately. They know they got you, tough luck. They know they got you already. You went to all these movies. Tron, Springsteen, Predators, Utopia, Avatar. They know you're just waiting for the Mandalorian and Grogu. What they got to do is reach out and get those people who haven't been going to the theaters.
He saw more movies this summer, or this in the past. I don't know. I guess all those were like fall or holiday movies. He saw more movies over the holidays than I've seen in the theater in probably 3 years.
Yeah, I can say something very similar, you know. I could probably name those movies. Post-pandemic films. I've seen a few concert videos in the theaters because you can only see them there.
Yeah.
But actual movies, last time I was at the theater was when I saw Revenge of the Sith.
For the anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that may have been the last time I was at a movie theater. No, there had to have been something else. I think there was like a Star Wars. No, it was that. That was it. And that was almost a year ago. And I used to be a really regular movie goer. Like, I would have gone to see all these movies back in the day. But nowadays, it's just like, let's just wait for it to come on the streaming. And that's all Hollywood's own doing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Right.
Hey, real quick, I want to just mention that, are we still talking about Tough Love?
No, I think we'll put a bow on Tough Love and move on with the rest of the show.
All right.
But he, at least I appreciate him tipping us off.
Yeah, of course.
That going on at the theaters.
That would be terrible if there was no trailer running or there was no movie poster. All right, so like I need another hobby, but I did promise myself just before the holidays that I was going to gift myself for this year something that I've been wanting for a long time. And I talked about it a little bit on the show. By the way, just so you know, thank goodness my serendipitous run-in with that fantastic 3D printer artist. We finally hooked up, by the way. We were able to connect. It was Pete Parla. And so I was so happy that Pete reached out, and he really helped me figure out, the best way to approach this, because 3D printing is very overwhelming. And I know if you've been in it for a long time, you go, oh, no, it's easy. No, it's overwhelming when you first get started. But I had my first success with it. I have been carrying around since my childhood my vintage Kenner Jabba the Hutt from 1983. And I lost somewhere along the way, or broke, or what have you, the sort of that armrest piece that his hookah pipe connects to. And to buy, I even had Billy Mack, going to like Kane County Toy Fair and things like that, looking for this piece for me. And to buy it, it's like $75-$80 if you find it. You get a loose Jabba, vintage Jabba. It's like $300 complete. Like, I don't want to pay that. So I was able, thanks to Pete directing me in the right way, I was able to 3D print my own Jabba armrest. And Mac, I sent you and Bill a couple of pics, but I've got it painted, and you would never know that is not a vintage armrest for the vintage Jabba the Hutt. It looks fantastic. Right, he is now displayable, and his hookah pipe wants to fall off. But yeah, it's great. I'm so thrilled. I'm finally able to put him back on display in my collection after, a couple of decades, I think. I don't know which move.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
You made the big step forward. You're living in the future now, and you have a 3D printer.
Yeah.
So that means I'll probably have one in about 5 years.
Okay.
I figure I'm at least 5 years behind you in technology.
Yeah.
Like if you were a country, I would be another country. That definitely has a different
so you're second world to my first world country
perhaps. maybe just when it comes to things like that kind of technology.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun. So thank you, Pete.
Are you going to print your own action figures?
Well, it's really tough because it's just not quite there. The plastic that's available to you, and I have a PLA printer. I don't have a resin printer, and honestly, the resin is even more brittle than the PLA. What you can get in terms of action figures are pretty simple 5 points of articulation, what I would feel comfortable printing, figures that are great for display. I'm absolutely going to start looking at that. Now, would I give them to my 4-year-old to play with? No, they would be busted into pieces within seconds. But for display and to kind of just poke around and have some fun with, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's in the fairly near future for me.
And there's fun little props you can make for the action figures, to scale.
Weapons and vehicles, but like the weapons and the accessories. Holy cow, yeah.
Maybe like a moisture evaporator or something.
Absolutely. The environments. Well, that's what Pete, Pete has got, has printed so much of this stuff. He's got a Black Series, like 6-inch scale Rancor that he 3D printed and in pieces and parts and assembled it and then sent it to someone else to do all the amazing airbrush work and paint. And this thing looks every bit as good as the one that was offered at HasLab. It's great. So for the longest time, I never understood when you would talk to Steve Sansweet and he would say, I love the fan stuff. The fan-made stuff is my favorite. And I'd be like, I don't know how I feel about that. I still like what I can go on at the store. But these days, dude, the fan-made boutique stuff is so much better than what the mass manufacturers are doing.
I agree. And I've felt that way for a long time. And just to sort of have Steve Sansweet's back a little bit, because I've talked to him about things like this. And the reason why he loves the fan-made stuff is the originality of the piece. Mm-hmm. And the fact that oftentimes it's one of one.
And he is a collector after all, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. And that just having those pieces in his collection offers him the status over other collectors because he has the one of one. Remember those great wooden action figures he had just acquired that we saw last September when we were out there? Those were one of 15. I mean, where are you going to find those? But everyone was sort of drooling over those, which is something you can only see at Rancho Obi-Wan.
Yeah, they were so unique.
RanchoObi-WAN.org. Yeah. So, and it just to the collector in him, and I think any collector feels this way. You love it when you have something that is unique to your collection, and nobody else has it, and they can't collect it unless they pry it out of your cold, dead hand. So that's where I think Steve is coming from as far as why he prefers. He calls it folk art often.
Yes,
he'll refer to a piece, a fan-made piece, as folk art, Star Wars folk art.
And I think he also appreciates the passion from where this stuff comes. The passion to whittle a Star Wars action figure out of wood or construct it out of popsicle sticks or whatever. I think that's also a big part of it.
So. This is the perfect segue into me sharing with you something that is probably not unique to my collection, nor is it fan-made. There's probably about 10,000 of these on planet Earth, but I've never seen it before. A gift from me mother. She gave it to me on Christmas Eve. It's a Baby Yoda mug. Protect, attack, take naps. So there you have it. So I walk around with this thing now.
I love it.
That's, say it loud, say it proud. Any room you walk into with your Baby Yoda coffee.
I think that describes a lot of dads, not just Baby Yoda, but that's what we do. Protect, attack if we need to, and take naps in between all that.
Yeah.
That's
perfect.
Great.
So that's our new philosophy here at Rebel Force Radio. Protect, attack, take naps.
Love it.
You must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message?
Message after the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Hi, Jason and Jimmy. This is Ashley from Texas. I'm a longtime listener and Star Wars fan, and also consider myself a Disney adult. I just got through listening to the most recent show about the changes coming to Galaxy's Edge at the Disney parks, and I'm super excited to finally see these changes. I love the theming at Galaxy's Edge, but after the first couple of visits, I just really found myself just not caring, really. Always walk through just to feel the ambiance and of course see the Falcon in person. But it's just, without any original trilogy characters or prequel characters, it's hard to care really about it. So I'm super excited about the changes coming. But I also wanted to just clarify something. As of right now, the changes are only happening at Disneyland and not Disney World. So I'd hate for you guys or a fellow listener to spend all their credits traveling to Batu East only to find V Marathi and not Vader. So I'm sure they'll eventually get added to Disney World as well, but Disneyland usually gets all the good stuff first. So anyways, thanks for all you guys do. May the Force be with you.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, with guys like Doug Chang overseeing this, yeah, I think it makes sense that this is going to hit the California park first, and they'll get all the kinks and bugs out of it, and also obviously gauge the reaction of the park goers, and that will inform the rollout in Florida. So it won't be a concurrent rollout. So that's a good note in case you're planning a vacation anytime soon and thought you were going to go down to Florida and see the OT characters roaming around Galaxy's Edge. Going to have to wait a little while on that. But Ashley does, really echo what I felt when it came to Galaxy's Edge, which was, there's vibe, there's ambiance, but it's not quite there. It just wasn't quite there. And I think having Darth Vader, Imperial Stormtroopers, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, they're going to get there. And also all of the shops, I love how there are these little crafty shops that have, it's very as if Star Wars was taking place in the real world. Things kind of have that homemade look. But the subject of these toys and these homemade items, these trinkets, were all sequel trilogy stuff for the most part. And this way, they're going to be able to open up a whole new array of creature options, vehicle options, droid options, alien options that just weren't available to them before. So, I mean, it's a pretty huge new palette of things to sort of paint the world with.
Yeah. Those first order trinkets and resistance doodads aren't exactly flying off the shelf. So they do need to give it a refresh. I'm surprised to hear they're not doing both parks at the same time. It seems like it's not too involved, this reskinning of Galaxy's Edge with original trilogy characters and concepts, because they're going to have this sucker ready to go April 29th.
Yeah.
And as far as refurbishing rides like Rise of the Resistance or the Cantina or the Millennium Falcon ride, which I think they call a Smuggler's Run or something, it doesn't seem like that is so involved, because they're already targeting April 29th for when all of this stuff is going to be in place. So, that gives them about 3.5 months. That doesn't seem very involved considering how long it took them to build the damn park to begin with. So
right.
Just to kind of reboot it, it's, they can flip a switch in 3 months. Why not just do both parks at the same time? But on the other side of the coin, I like having differences in the East Coast park and the West Coast park. I think you get more value out of that knowing that you're going to be seeing something different at Galaxy's Edge in Anaheim as opposed to Galaxy's Edge in Orlando. And I think that's a good thing.
Well, I don't think it's going to last very long. I think if this is a hit, if this is a success, and this gets the conversation changing around Galaxy's Edge, which they desperately need because it's been kind of milquetoast lukewarm, they're going to want to speed that up. Now, I got a quote up here from Doug Chang. Doug Chang is talking about, he says, the Walt Disney Imagineering team continues to set the standard for experiential storytelling with the expansion of the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge timeline at Disneyland to include classic characters from other Star Wars eras. Fans will have a unique opportunity to live the Star Wars experience in an even bigger way. Every new detail, no matter how small, will be meticulously recreated to ensure an authentic experience. From iconic heroes and villains to droids and aliens, this next phase offers an unparalleled opportunity to immerse yourself in the Star Wars saga. I've had the tremendous pleasure of working side by side with the amazing team, and I'm continually impressed by their passion for immersive storytelling, a passion that parallels our films, blah, blah, blah. But when he talks, Jim, about the minute detail, and you got a guy like Doug Chiang that certainly knows his Star Wars from all eras, it sounds like it might be more involved than we think, and this might have been in the works longer than we know.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, they're not going to announce it unless they've determined that they can actually go forward with it, and that may have taken, the better part of a year or more. So, and if Doug Chiang's going to be involved, that all the T's will be crossed and the I's will be dotted. So I'm not too worried about that there. I just am worried about where V. Marathi is going to fit into all of this. V. Marathi, she, her.
Of course.
With the blue hair. How's she going to fit into this whole narrative? I think they're probably going to have to sacrifice her. And
don't say that.
Probably throw her into a molten lava pit and let's make this a fish. Let's go.
V. Marathi.
V. Marathi.
I'm sure there's everything is somebody's favorite. We've learned that after many, many years behind these microphones.
That's the truth. Yeah, you never know who had an interaction with V. Marathi at the parks, and it changed their lives. So, but I guarantee you, far more people will have interactions with Darth Vader that will change their life more so than anyone. No news on if old Boba Fett's going to show up in the park, but I bet he will.
I bet he will too. But there's a lot of concern around Lucasfilm about confusing the Mandalorian and Boba Fett. So when they're both sharing the same stage, without it being the Tim Morrison Boba Fett, which the differences are obvious there, they run that risk of Grandma confusing Boba for Din Djarin.
For crying out loud, I mean, they've introduced like 1,000 Mandalorians in the last 5 years. I think we can figure it out,
And all of the other ones look the same. They're all like wearing the blue and black and gray. I mean, talk about confusing. I don't know these characters unless I'm staring at the action figure card and it's got the name right there. I don't know Axe Woves from Hell. When he's wearing his helmet, I don't know.
Well, who doesn't get confused? V. Marathi. She does not get confused. She can tell the difference.
All right, let's.
I do find that interesting, though, Ashley. Thank you for pointing out to us that they're going to be flipping the switch in Anaheim, but not necessarily in Orlando quite yet.
Rebel Force Radio.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Jimmy. This is John from Michigan here. I loved you guys' discussion about the old Genndy Tartakovsky microseries, and y'all were talking about how it aired, and I have kind of a funny story. When the season first aired, how it was in like 3-minute chunks, and it would air at like 7 or 8 o'clock. Well, I was in middle school at the time, and we had a school dance, and I had a date for this dance, but I chose not to go because I wanted to watch the new Star Wars microseries episode. Of course, it was the one that introduced Asajj Ventress, so I think I made out pretty good. But from then on, I was known as the guy that chose Star Wars over a dance, which brings me to this question. Has there been any social engagements that you guys have skipped due to StarArs? Thank you, guys. Love the show. May the Force be with you. God bless.
Yeah, Jimmy was going to skip the birth of his first child, if need be, to go see Phantom Menace, because it was such a race to the finish line. What was going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know if I would have left the theater should the pager have started buzzing. Let's just say. I'm not 100% sure I would have actually gotten up and left. But I don't know. I'll let you answer first, Jason, because I actually do have a few notable moments in my life that I've missed things because of Star Wars. There were a couple of significant events.
Yeah, you know,
one in particular.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the most significant thing I've ever missed because of Star Wars, and it's not all that significant, was work. Work and class. That's it. No, I don't consider it a sacrifice, but when those prequels films were coming out, particularly in 2002 and 2005, there was Wookiee Hookie being played there. Because I went to the midnight screenings and I wasn't going to, get home at 3 a.m. and wake up a couple hours later and try to go to work. It was always, oh, I'm not feeling so good. Yeah, I had that flu that hit in Memorial Day weekend every 3 years there back in the early 2000s. But no, I mean, when I look at when these films were coming out, I was a little too young to have any prior social engagements for the original trilogy. And then when the sequels were coming out, or prequels, I was lucky enough to have been a student and then early in my career. So no major shakes there. And then by the time the sequels rolled out, I was firmly ensconced in front of the RFR microphone, and it was all part of the gig. So the answer is no. I have not missed out or skipped out on any. Certainly no dances, although nobody was asking me to dances back then. I can assure you of that. But no, I didn't miss any big social opportunities.
John from Michigan blew off his date to the sock hop so he could watch the Clone Wars micro series.
Was it 1958 all of a sudden, the sock hop?
And and he blew it off for like a 3-minute episode of the Genndy Clone Wars, What did you do for the rest of the night, John? That's what I want to know. Once that 3 minutes was up, then what'd you do?
Imagine how disappointed he was when he realized it was only 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
I don't think young John knew.
Well, John was known then around school as the guy who blew off the dance for Star Wars. And now John is known as the guy who never kissed a girl. Because that was his one and only opportunity. No, John, I tease. Of course I tease. You know I love you. I love you, buddy. But so there were a couple occasions where I met. Now, the podcast has gotten me out of things, and I relish those opportunities.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, we can't go to your brother-in-law's after show. What am I going to do? I'm not in charge of this schedule. What can I do? But here's a couple of instances where when I look back at it, I'm like, wow, I wish I went to the event and didn't blow it off for the podcast. The first one is kind of minor, but the family scored tickets to the SpongeBob SquarePants musical, and they all went downtown to see it, and I stayed here podcasting.
Oh, that was a great show. That was a great show.
That's
you missed
what
a good
heard.
one.
I heard.
Okay,
And
so wait a
been-
minute. So Star Wars podcasting counts?
Yes.
All right. Well, then, yeah, that would change things probably a little bit for me. But I thought he was talking about, like movies
Going
or
to see
TV
a
shows
movie.
or
I know.
something like that.
Okay, here I got one for you.
All right.
Star Wars Celebration Japan 2008. I got a free ride to that show. Who gives somebody airline tickets to go to Japan comped? That never happens. So I had to take advantage of it. So after I said yes to that, my mom decided to schedule my grandmother's memorial service in northern Mississippi on the same week. I said, Mom, I can't make it to the memorial service that week. And there was no flexibility with the date. So my whole family trucked down from Illinois to Mississippi with my mom and dad, brother and sister, and then my wife and 2 boys went and took the trip. I was in Japan, and I missed it. So I felt pretty bad about that. I wrote something that they read.
Well, that's good. I mean...
But there is an emptiness there But what are you going to do? Free trip to Japan. I said my grandmother would have preferred me to take the trip to Japan.
Most grandmas would. Most grandmas would.
I could just see her, slapping me, saying, "What's the matter with you? You got to go. You have to go." And that's what my mom told me.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, don't you worry about it, Jimmy Mac. You made the right call, and you did what Nana would have wanted.
I gave him a big sayonara, and off I went. Sayonara, may the force be with you.
Yep, raise a glass of sake to Grams. Oh, my Lord.
So
all right,
I think we have one more.
Okay.
Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Jason. This is John from good old Illinois, Mr. Jimmy Mac Stomping Grounds. Meant to record this a couple weeks ago and send it over to you guys, but you know how it is with the holidays and getting back to work and the swing of things, so I thought I'd record this and send this over to you guys today. I was listening to your Christmas episode. I think it was actually the day you guys released it, so like a day or two before Christmas, and loved the show. I loved that bit you guys did with Jimmy's son. That was amazing. In that conversation, you guys brought up some Star Wars books, I believe. I forget which one specifically, but I know Jimmy pulled out a book and was talking about how he checked that book out of his elementary school library. And when you read the name of that school, I lost my mind, because not only 2 days later, I found myself in that exact same place, St. Catherine's La Brea Church. That's where my family goes every year for Christmas Day Mass. So they're sitting there and they're listening to the priest give his sermon, and I'm sitting in the pew the entire time just thinking to myself, oh my God, Jimmy Mac has been here. So just wanted to share that with you guys, a little connection we got, and love the show. Been listening to it for the last 10 years, right about when I got out of high school. So yeah, 2015, 2016, 10 years. And you guys have been amazing. I love all the different ideas you guys bring up, all the conversations you have. You guys really are the best when it comes to Star Wars conversations. Keep it up. Here's to another 10 years, hopefully a lot more. And you guys got a lifetime listener. I'm going to listen for as long as you guys make episodes. Love you guys. Keep up the great work. Happy New Year.
I do hope there's a plaque that says Jimmy Mac theft here, Jimmy Mac theft here. Maybe you could send us a picture. There's the book.
There's the book. I still have it. And yes, it is stamped St. Catherine La Brea School. The school is gone as of last summer. They closed the doors for good there, but the church remains open. And so you were sitting in the pew there at that church. Well, let me tell you a little something about some of my misadventures in that place. I was an altar boy. I know you find it hard to believe, but it's true. And we were assigned certain days of the week where instead of doing the recess thing that normal kids do, we'd have to go into the church and clean it up. And a lot of this required us to sort of wipe down all of the pews and everything. But you throw a bunch of 12-year-old boys into a church unsupervised in the middle of the week on a Wednesday afternoon, shenanigans will happen. And we discovered all kind of fun games you could play in that church. The pews, the kneelers, they have these kneelers that go down, and you're supposed to kneel on them to pray. Yeah. They're in every pew. We discovered the little rubber stoppers on the bottom of the pews are removable. And you could pull that sucker off and start throwing it across the church at your buddy who's wiping down one of the pews. Then, of course, he retaliates, and the next thing you know, all the pews are missing those little rubber stoppers, and we've thrown them all over the place.
And the floor is never recovered.
One kid's over there jamming on the church organ. Another kid is there with a bottle of altar wine helping himself. Getting ready for a real exciting afternoon at the Catholic school once classes resume. Hey, I think Joey is drunk. Oh, no, he's not drunk. That was just altar wine. He's fine. And then also those little communion. I know what I'm saying here. People are going to think is the most sacrilegious thing in the world. But those little communion wafers, those things, once they take air, those things sail. I mean, so we're having, who can throw it the farthest? They were unblessed. So don't come crying at me that we were being disrespectful of the body of Christ.
You just bless them again, if you need to. Bless some more.
Listen, nobody wanted to be putting those suckers in their mouth once we were through with them. So that's what went on there in that church. Next time you go there, chew on that for a little while. We're burning incense in there,
Just
hey,
wait
I
till
found matches.
You've given him so much more to think about and distract him from the sermon next Christmas Eve. So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Check to see if they ever replace those rubber stoppers on the bottom of the kneelers. I'm curious. I mean, we're going back to like 1982 here with these stories. So, yeah, we shall see. But yeah, I had a lot of fun at that place. Not so much at the school itself, but because those Catholic educators, they would smack you if you were a little out of line, and you could only imagine how out of line I was.
Sure. Well, I think you deserved it. I'm sure you deserved it.
Well, I sucked it up. I sucked it up. I didn't cry about it. I didn't go run into my mom and dad crying about it. I said, you know what? I probably had that coming to me.
Yeah. I think they should bring some of that back. I think the spirit of some of that is sorely missing.
No. No. Once you've been on the other end of Mr. Boyd's closed fist, you're not really thinking much about
nice little rap on the knuckles with the old ruler. You know what? It wakes him up.
You know what they did? You know what they did to me once? They drew a circle on the blackboard. And I go, Mr. McInerney, put your nose in that circle. And so I did. And they're like, I kind of bent over to do it. And he goes, no, get on your knees to do it. I'm like, okay, where's this experiment going? So I get on my knees, I put my nose in the circle on the blackboard, and the SOB walks across the back of my calves.
Ooh.
Yeah, that hurt like hell.
Yeah, I bet. What did you do to deserve that? You must have been a terrible student.
I just had a smart mouth. I was a class clown. I was saying things that were way too funny. I mean, really entertaining stuff. And they didn't like me getting all that attention. And also, one time, Sister Veronica, I was standing in front of the class. I gave a presentation. I'm walking back to my desk, and there was a chair in the middle of the aisle. So I just sort of moved it aside with my foot. And I sit down at my desk. Sister Veronica walks up to me. She goes, McInerney, stand up. And I stand up, and she kicks me as hard as she can in the shin with her pointy witch shoe. And it hurt like hell. And I said, why'd you do that? She goes, now you know what it's like when somebody kicks you. It's like, because I moved the chair out of the way with my foot? What are you, mad? So,
oh, my God.
That's my experience.
She was really partial to that chair, huh? Really feeling for the chair.
She told me that chair was more important than me, the student. Yeah. And so, there's psychological things you have to work through as an adult when you think back to those glory days of Catholic school.
I'm more important than a chair.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Lord.
I'm a person, and my name is Anakin.
All right. So when the decision was being foretold in a couple weeks ago about this change in leadership over at Lucasfilm, and the rumors were that it was not going to be just a one-person replacement, Dave Filoni moving over to the big chair, but it was going to be a two-person co-presidency. So Dave Filoni and Lin-Wen, what's her name? Lin-Wen
Brennan.
Brennan.
LB. No J.
Yeah. As co-presidents, which I just found so strange. We talked about it here on the show about, why that might be and why it wasn't your traditional CEO and COO roles. But regardless, co-presidents. And Greg Harr on the RFR Patreon page spoke for a lot of us, all of us Office fans, and reminded us that The Office predicted such a thing many, many years ago.
Look, it doesn't take a genius to know that any organization thrives when it has two leaders. Go ahead, name a country that doesn't have two presidents. A boat that sets sail without two captains. Where would Catholicism be without the popes?
Oscar Martinez dropping some wisdom here. It is very interesting. And Jim, there was nothing in the press materials that would indicate who has trump in this dynamic between the two. The buck has to stop with someone. Now, obviously, it's going to stop with Bob Iger. Right. So is Bob but is Bob going to be the tiebreaker and get in between Dave Filoni and Lin-Wen Brennan?
No, nothing would ever be presented to Bob unless they were united on it at Lucasfilm. But I think that Dave Filoni will have a bit of autonomy, at least within Lucasfilm. Now, when it comes to dealing with Disney, that's a whole different story. Because Filoni doesn't have the sort of Hollywood clout a Kathleen Kennedy does. So, but Filoni does have a pedigree in Star Wars, which I think is really important for the job. If you're going to be the one making the decisions on what sort of storytelling is going to fuel the future for the franchise.
But who breaks the tie between Filoni and Lin-Wen?
I don't think there's going to be anything like that. I mean, because Brennan has never expressed herself as a creative. She's always been an administrator, working behind the scenes on the business end of things. So basically, I think Filoni just says, I want to do this. And that's as far, I mean, she's not going to veto him unless he wants to do something like some insane all-nude Star Wars or something. She might say something. But other than that, I think she's just there to kind of help facilitate and realize and execute his ideas on the business end.
Then why not keep her as general manager? Why make her co-president?
She was also president. She had that title under Kathleen Kennedy, who also had the title president. They've been running with a two-president system there for a long time. So
she was general manager. She wasn't president. Lin-Wen wasn't president.
Yeah, she did have the president title. She did. Yes, she did. Yeah, general manager / president.
President.
Same thing with Kathy Kennedy. I think she was just president.
Yeah,
but
no
slash. That's how it's always been, you know. I mean, there were presidents there when George ran the company, you know. And you know, they all had to answer to him. So
yeah, but they're making a big deal out of this co-president thing. They didn't make a big deal over it when Kathleen Kennedy assumed the role and said, "Wow, she's going to be co-president." Or when Lin-Wen Brennan got her promotion, no one said she's going to be co-president with Kathleen Kennedy. The narrative around this is
an odd thing to do. It's an odd thing to do because the Disney companies have similar setups. Marvel has a similar setup with Kevin Feige calling the shots for the creative end and somebody else handling the business and administration end. Pixar has a similar setup. We know DC with James Gunn has a similar setup.
But are they called co-presidents?
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about. I think maybe
because all companies have a leader that handles the strategic and creative decisions, and then someone who handles the day-to-day, the business side of things. For the most part, that's not a new dynamic. What I feel is interesting here is their insistence in going out and talking about these two being co-presidents, and I don't know if it's a reflection on Filoni, if it's something that they owed Lin-Wen Brennan, if it was sort of a consolation prize because she was perhaps structurally the next in line and Filoni kind of leapfrogged her. I don't know. I just think there's a bigger story there than just random titles.
Yeah, well, if there is a bigger story there, I don't know what it is. I mean, I think the job duties are pretty clearly defined. Filoni handles the creative, and Lin-Wen will continue to handle the business and administration end of running a big company, just like her successors have at Lucasfilm. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, obviously, Filoni can't handle both duties. It's too much to be, you know, the business I mean, even George Lucas couldn't do that and still be creating stories. Lucas couldn't do that. He spent 10 years basically building the Lucasfilm company and not making movies. I don't think that was the best use of his time. But George just has to have his fingerprints all over everything. I mean, we see it with the museum. How many directors has he gone through? And that place
I've
hasn't
heard.
even opened the doors.
There's
yet.
a body count there with the
huge
executive
huge
directors.
body count. And now George has taken over that role and is serving as curator for the museum.
it's me.
Yeah, you know, once all the I mean, he's just like Tarkin.
He's going to be
with
taking the
Death
tickets
Star.
when it opens too. Yeah, I'll show you. I'll take
He's
the
gonna be
ticket
doing
here.
everything. Yeah, him and his wife will be standing there. But I mean, it's just like Tarkin with the Death Star. As soon as that thing was ready and operational, he just pushed Krennic aside and took
That's
over.
right, he did.
As if he'd been there all from day one, you know? And so George has done the same thing with the museum and his museum directors.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
it's
Tarkin,
crazy.
as soon as he saw that thing was there was a future for that, and it was going to be operational. Great. All right. I'll be taking over from here on out.
Krennic lost his mind, you know?
Yeah.
This is my achievement, not yours.
Yeah, and he ran and was tattling on Tarkin with Vader.
Yes. He did go to tell on Tarkin to Darth Vader.
I'm going to go tell Vader.
Wow. So who would George Lucas go to in that situation? Coppola? Or somebody? I'm not sure. You know?
Yeah, right. Oh,
Crazy.
goodness. All right. Well, you know, there's always a surprise every week here on RFR when I'm going through the old show prep and the rundown. And this one really threw me because I like to assume that when there's a crossover of two of my favorite things, Star Wars and Broadway musicals, that I'm in the know. But apparently I missed out on this one. I see a note here.
Okay,
Kathleen Kennedy, the musical.
Kathleen Kennedy, the musical.
Yeah.
All right. This is a concept, okay?
Okay.
And I was going to present it to you as like a pitch for a stage production or something.
All right.
But, I mean, really, let's just pull the curtains all the way back and explain the origin of this particular piece of audio you're going to hear and probably be absolutely repelled by. Last week after the show, me and Jason were BSing. And it's like, hey, we should write a parody song of My Way for Kathy Kennedy.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Right. Yes.
And,
yes,
yes. you said, you write the lyrics and I'll sing it. I have a karaoke track and everything. And so I'm like, oh, great idea. So I farted out all these lyrics. And I you know, some of the timing and phrasing is a little bit different than the Frank Sinatra classic.
Okay.
So I created a scratch track for you to listen to, so you would understand how it all happens and stuff. And then I took the scratch track and listened to it, and I'm like, you know what? I think this project is done. I don't have to send it to Jason.
Okay.
So I created an a cappella track. Well, this is the scratch track, actually.
Okay.
This was one take,
That's
Jake.
Ballsy.
One take, Jake, and then I tried to pitch it up a little bit to make myself sound more like Kathleen Kennedy, but that didn't really work. But I left that adjustment in the final piece of audio that you're going to hear now. This is Kathleen Kennedy, the musical, performing the Frank Sinatra song. Imagine this is Kathy singing this, okay?
Okay.
Maybe she'll hear this and be inspired and go into the studio and record it herself.
All right.
And now the end is here. Star Wars is toast. The franchise is hurtin'. The fans, they wanted me gone. YouTubers all suck, and that's for certain. I took the job from George. I traveled to each and every convention. Bob Iger can kiss my ass. I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few. Willow was bad. The Acolyte sucked balls. What I need are better characters. Maybe Vader and more Darth Mauls. Solo, a Star Wars story. Happened too soon. For that I am sorry. Screw you, bitch. I'm filthy rich. I did it my way. Sure, there were times when only Filoni knew if the lightsaber should be the color blue. I listened to nerds, but they were just turds.
I did it my way.
Wow.
I was so wrong about Kathleen Kennedy. She's so awesome.
So that's just me goofing around.
Wow.
But there
very
it is.
good.
So
I think we've got. Hey, look, I think we've got. There's legs on this. Okay, I want to hear more. The Kathy Kennedy story.
And you know what? Last week we played the Kathy bot reading responses. For her interview, her exit interview, and stuff. And there's technology out there where you can take those recordings and put them in some software and make it sound exactly like Kathy Kennedy. But we went with the bot last week, and I had an RFR listener reach out to me, and they say, hey, I've mastered that technology, and I could take any recordings and make it sound just like Kathy Kennedy.
Interesting.
And so he sent me a file of one of the bot recordings that he converted into the Kathy Kennedy voice, and it sounded just like her. But that's not a technology I'm going to pursue because I have moral hangups with it, and I have integrity issues by creating something in someone else's voice. And I really do. I mean, you don't hear that stuff on RFR. Everything you hear produced on this show was produced by myself, and there's no AI ever involved in any of the audio production you hear on the show. And I want to maintain those standards. I don't fault the guy for reaching out and saying, hey, I can make these recordings sound just like Kathy Kennedy. But I think we're going to stick with the bots and my bad scratch tracks of, Kathy Kennedy audio. The guy didn't say if he could convert any other voices. He just said Kathy Kennedy.
Well, like he's just
Maybe he's got the
studied
market.
Kathy Kennedy?
Yeah.
Like this is his life's work, is to be able to replicate
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
her dulcet tones.
He's got the market cornered on Kathleen Kennedy audio replication. But so
He's waiting for that big biopic to come by, and he's like, "Now, my ship will come in."
Yeah, about 10 years ago, I mentioned on the show that there was emerging technology where somebody can just type something into a keyboard and make it sound like anybody in the world. They can make me say stuff, they can make you say stuff, anybody, Kathy Kennedy. And now that technology is upon us and it's emerged and stuff, I feel worse than ever about it. So I don't want to be making Kathy Kennedy say things she didn't say, even if it is stuff she actually said, because it's not her voice. We're not getting her inflection. We're not getting her emotion or her humanity come through it.
I agree. I agree with that. I think you're right, because we as human beings have evolved over the years to present a lot of different emotion behind not just our facial features and our expressions and our body language, but also, yes, absolutely, the tone of voice, the inflections, the ups, the downs, all of that. And AI can do a pretty good facsimile, but it's never going to be authentic. It just can't be authentic, obviously, by nature of what it is. So I appreciate it. I think there's a place for AI. I think AI has a lot of good uses, but this is one where I agree with you. I think it would be irresponsible because people could pull those clips from RFR and use them elsewhere, and all of a sudden now that interview was not a print interview; it's now a recorded interview, and that's just it's not what we want to be pushing around here.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some substance in what she was saying that could get lost in the process, get filtered out. That's a dance I'm not willing to get on the dance floor and participate on.
Nice offer, though. It was nice that they offered.
Of course it was. And believe me, I thought about it, It's not like something I just immediately said no to. I went and I listened to his sample and everything, and I just, still, there are integrity issues I have with that kind of audio production. So I can't, I just can't go there.
Don't blame you. Don't blame you one bit. I think you made a good choice, and we respect your integrity here, Jimmy Mac. And hey, speaking of integrity, you can find that here on Rebel Force Radio. You can also find it over on Patreon, Rebel Force Radio on Patreon. Always something big and exciting happening there. Jim, what's the latest?
Well, of course, each and every week we're releasing bonus podcasts, full show video, and early bird releases, ad-free early bird releases to Patreon, and only $2, and you can get access to those early bird ad-free releases. So if you're sick of hearing the commercial breaks happen here on Rebel Force Radio, support us on Patreon, and for a very minimal monthly fee, you'll get access to those ad-free shows. And we really appreciate everyone who supports Rebel Force Radio on Patreon. That's why we give you so much stuff over there, like RFR Q&A number 277, Star Wars Fathers and Sons. Of course, we know a lot of parents love to bond with their children over Star Wars, and RFR VIP Mike Mulvaney is one of them. He and his young son Logan, have been popping up at RFR events for years now, ever since Logan was a little kid. Now he's in junior high, and Mike joins me on the Q&A for his very first ever episode hosting. It's his Q&A debut. And we spend a lot of time dealing with the fallout of the Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni shakeup at Lucasfilm. But we also take time throughout the conversation to hear Mike's stories about what it's like to raise such a diehard and loyal Star Wars kid. His son is a super fan. And we talk about how their fandoms inspire each other. So it's a really fun conversation. I like Mike a lot, and I'm glad he finally was able to join us on the Q&A. Patreon's also a great hub to be connected to all things happening RFR. We cross-post all of our YouTube releases. We just cross-posted the Michelle Ang Omega from Bad Batch interview that we conducted last summer. We have finally made that full video of the interview available to everyone on our YouTube channel. And, of course, we're cross-posting everything to Patreon. So patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio is the place you want to go to be connected to all things Rebel Force Radio via Patreon. Plus, like I said, you get those bonus podcasts, full show video, ad-free early bird releases, access to an amazing community of hardcore Star Wars fans who are super nice and always respectful of each other. It's really one of the best places to have online conversations about the wars. And it can be found at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Join today.
Rebel Force Radio.
Ugh, is that how far apart my eyes are? I look like Admiral Akbar.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
All right, well, this was some unexpected news here. As we're recording the show, word earlier today dropped by official channels that the Darth Maul Shadow Lord animated series will get its first trailer out this week. So by the time you're listening to this, it will have dropped. But fear not, next week we will give it our patented frame-by-frame breakdown here on Rebel Force Radio. But there was a teaser, Jim, so we'll go ahead and play that. This is how they announced that the Shadow Lord trailer was coming.
I love this trailer. It's really cool with the red and black paint splatters, you would call it. The double-bladed lightsaber, Darth Maul cut in half. You're seeing all this in silhouettes. That looks like a Rorschach test there, but no, it's Darth Maul's face. And it says trailer tomorrow. For a teaser trailer, or a trailer for a trailer even, that's a very impressive bit of artwork there. I really was super impressed with the Maul Shadow Lord teaser trailer. And we got some scoop here on Rebel Force Radio from people in the know who say they've been in contact with writers and stuff, and those guys are really, really pumped up for Maul Shadow Lord season 1. But they say here's the real kicker here in the information we got today. They say season 1 is great, but season 2 even better. And I was like, wow, we've had no official acknowledgement of a season 2 yet. And that's to be expected. Who announces a season 2 when season 1 hasn't even dropped its first episode yet? But that's what we're hearing, that plans are moving along. You know, they have to stay ahead of this stuff by about a year and a half to make sure that these episodes get produced and voiced and animated and all of that. So naturally, season 1 must be in the can, and season 2 is being worked on as we speak. So you've heard it here first. A season 2 for Maul Shadow Lord is the plan. So hopefully it'll happen. Of course, we knew that season 6 and season 7 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars was also the plan, but Disney bought the company and canceled everything until they decided to release season 6 as the Lost Mission, season 7 many years later, just to conclude everything. But I'm pretty excited for this show, especially getting some insider information where we are learning that they are very optimistic about the quality of this thing.
I'm very much looking forward to it. I am leery whenever a new show comes out and you start hearing this talk about, you're going to like season 1, but wait till you see season 2. I've heard that. I feel like I've heard that before. And I've heard it about like, the season comes out and they're like, well, the first few episodes are really good, but man, wait till you see episode 5. It really takes off. So this is nothing new, especially when it comes to Star Wars. I really would love for people to say, wait till you see that first episode. It's going to blow your minds. But we never hear that. It's always about the back half of the season or always about the next season. It's never about the thing that is imminently happening. So can we just focus on that? That should be, let's not worry about season 2. How good is season 1? Let's make that good.
Of course, but this is not coming from any PR spiel, you know. This is from just information.
Yeah, no, I know
passed
that. I
along
know
to
that.
us.
I know that.
I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be talking about it on the show, but
and I'm referring to other inside stuff that we've heard over the years. And not just Star Wars, but other, franchises and TV shows and things like that. It's just, and here's the thing. Obviously, if you've watched TV for any time at all, you know that shows generally get better especially after the first seasons. The first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation is barely watchable. The first season of Seinfeld even is not as great as the show would later go on to be. But I do feel as though Star Wars tends to try and kick these things off sort of softly. And then they get their feet wet, and then they decide, we could actually take this and be maybe a little bit more aggressive with it and push the envelope a little bit more. We saw it happen with Rebels. We saw it happen with Clone Wars. We've seen it happen with Bad Batch. I feel like we saw it with Mandalorian even. I feel as though this just plays out a lot. And Clone Wars was really notorious for this because you would just start a new season and we'd be doing the roundtables or the after shows, and we would hear, hey, wait till you watch the second half of the season. It's gonna blow your mind. It's like, well, why didn't you just put all of that work into the first half of the season? So I hope there are no throwaway episodes with this series. I hope that we don't waste our time with side missions, like Bad Batch did. When it first started. Let's tell a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end with this thing and make every episode count. I don't want any filler. I don't think there's any excuse for filler when it comes to a show about Darth Maul because, let's put it this way. No one's starving for more Darth Maul content. We've had a ton of it. And so if they've got something really important to say, and I believe that they do with this series, then let's have it. Let's have it.
All right, let's have it. Bring on Maul. We're hearing that April is the date, is the month when it's going to be dropping. I bet in the trailer that's coming out this week that everyone has seen by the time they're listening to this podcast, I bet the date is announced at the end. But I just, want to say this and go on the record as saying we've been hearing April, just in case April does turn out to be correct. in the trailer that gets released this week. Then I could say, I told you so.
Yeah.
But yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, this would be an appropriate time to release a trailer for a series that's going to be dropping at the beginning of April. So
perfect. Yeah.
This is a good time to start hyping it up. Maybe the first of several trailers we'll be getting for this upcoming animated series brought to you by the people who made Clone Wars. And I just want to emphasize that because it sure looks like they're using the similar type of animation style that the Clone Wars incorporated, but probably more technologically advanced. So we'll see how great it is. Those saber duels between Maul and Ahsoka in season 7 of the Clone Wars were absolutely spectacular, cinematic. And so if they can bring anything like that to the Maul series, then yeah, sign me up as well. So that's it. Maul Shadow Lord coming soon.
All right. Okay, so with the exit of Kathleen Kennedy, there was and has been a lot of speculation about what's next. What did she leave on the table in her exit? And Jim, of course, her record is just replete with starts and stops and creative firings and hirings, and she's laid a lot on us. I mean, it wasn't that long ago she was on stage at Star Wars Celebration, and they had logos of new TV shows and movies, and she had directors and stars walking out on stage. So she definitely put a lot into these announcements. This isn't like inside information. A lot of this stuff, some of it is inside, but a lot of this stuff was very publicly announced. And with her leaving, where does that leave these various projects? And the first one we want to talk about here is Dave Filoni's film, the Mandoverse film, and what the status of this is. Now, this also was announced right alongside Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, James Mangold. He was brought out on stage, and Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy presented these three as these are the next 3 directors of Star Wars film projects. And from what I understand, not just his new job, but other things may prevent Dave Filoni from sitting in the director's seat for a Star Wars film for a while.
Yeah. I think at the next Star Wars Celebration, Dave Filoni is going to bring James Mangold, Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, and Kathleen Kennedy up on stage and say, these people will be bringing you the next 3 Star Wars films. Kind of turn the tables on everything.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Filoni is just going to go back to the executive suite and avoid the director's chair altogether, because I think he is taking on a lot with now being in charge of the Star Wars franchise. And does that leave him time to then sit in that director's chair and direct actors in the volume and stuff? Well, James Gunn certainly has time to do it, so maybe Dave Filoni does. But James Gunn also has time to show up on various episodes of Big Brother throughout the summer as well. So I don't know what the hell's going on over. Yeah, he was great too. He was great. He's like a super fan, and he was on 2 episodes of Big Brother last summer. Yeah, all right. Analyzing all the hijinks of the house guests and stuff. I'm like, wow, this is wonderful, man. You know, I thought I was the most well-known nerd who watched Big Brother, but James Gunn, he takes the prize. Absolutely.
Well, Filoni aside, what's the future of this Avengers-style team-up film where we get all of the heroes that we've been introduced over the last however many years in this Mandoverse, from Mando to Luke Skywalker to Boba Fett, Ahsoka? We know a big battle is coming.
Skeleton Crew gang would be involved in this movie too.
You could throw them in as well.
But I think a lot of that is conjecture and assumption, because nowhere does that actually, like, a lot of people are citing this Hollywood Reporter article saying that it was confirmed that Skeleton Crew characters were going to be part of the Filoni film. Listen, nobody knows who was going to be actually part of that Mandoverse film. I think it's a stretch to think that the Skeleton Crew gang would be included in that. And I've seen that spread like wildfire across the internet this week. I just want to say there's no substance to that kind of stuff. It's all just being assumed. Filoni did talk about the status of his movie in an interview he did with Josh Horowitz in June of 2024 on Josh's show, Happy, Sad, Confused. And I dug up this interview this week because it's really the last real sit-down interview Filoni has done. Sure, he showed up at Star Wars Celebration Japan last year and was involved in some panels and some media lines. But to have an actual sit-down conversation with somebody, Filoni hasn't done that in a couple of years now. Happy, Sad, Confused was the last place he did that.
Over a year ago, it was announced, you have a live-action Star Wars movie coming. Where are we at? Is there a script? Give me some hope.
You know, very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff. I work in very long threads. And so for me, telling a story, I always have to know, where is this going? What's the outcome of this is going to be? And fans that have followed my work know this about Clone Wars, about, you know, when I started Clone Wars, I had a good idea of how it was going to end. It changed a bit as we went on, but it's still fairly relative to the things that happened. I, at the time, didn't know Darth Maul was going to be in it. That was a George curveball. But George, you know, he's allowed to do that. So I knew how Rebels was going to end. Because I've been writing season 2 of Ahsoka, things have clicked, and I have a much better idea about where things are going to go. And I will say I have an opening I really like quite a bit. I'm very excited about it for that picture. And I'm excited about the potential of just doing it. But right now my focus is very clearly on season 2, as well as the rest of the galaxy and how it's spinning. But I am excited. It's funny because every now and then there'll be something I get where someone says what my movie's about online, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I should read that and see if there's any good idea in there. That was early on, but I never do. I actually I'm very good at staying away from a lot of that stuff. And but I love that the fans imagine. I love that they're excited about it. I'm excited about it, but you know, one foot in front of the other right now, though. I think it's, you know, for me, it's going well. It's at its normal development point in the way I make these stories happen, and so we'll see. It's been fun to really dive into, and working with John on his movie, and that's exciting, and you know, all the other things that we're developing. It's different. It's different for me now than it was before, because now I'm involved in everything.
It's different, is what the man is saying. Mm-hmm. It's very different now, Dave. And if we're just moving along and we're at the normal part of the development phase, if that normal part includes the words "on hold," then that's where we're at with the Filoni film. We saw the writing on the wall for this going all the way back to the
not long after this interview when it was formally announced. Now, he had the role prior, but when he was formally announced as that lead creative mind there, that was going to change the trajectory of this movie, or at least Dave's involvement in it.
Right. And when I heard that Mandalorian and Grogu film was announced, I knew that was a big nail in the coffin for this Filoni event film that's going to culminate all the loose ends of the Mandoverse stories. That changes everything then, just to release a Mandalorian and Grogu film, because depending on the box office for something like that can take off into its own sub-series of films.
Right.
And really be outside of the control of Dave Filoni and more in the wheelhouse of Jon Favreau than anything. Also, when I learned at Star Wars Celebration Japan last year that Ahsoka was going to feature, the second half of the season was going to feature the big showdown with Grand Admiral Thrawn. And you were going to see the New Republic bringing out everything in its arsenal to take on Thrawn, even including Admiral Akbar in the action and everything. I was like, geez, that sure sounds like an idea that Dave was probably going to pursue for his Mandoverse movie. But now it's being shifted into Ahsoka Season 2. which we had heard was on the bubble actually for a while, despite the fact that there were so many loose ends at the end of season 1. But they're going to plow ahead with Ahsoka season 2. And I think many of the ideas for Dave's Mandoverse movie are now being absorbed by his Ahsoka season 2. So that's
there's
where
been
I
a
think
lot
the
of
status
upset
is.
in the Mandoverse, everything from the Gina Carano exit, which led to the Rangers of the New Republic being canceled, and then elements of that being shoehorned into other shows. It's a shame, because I would have really liked to have seen the way that this was originally intended to roll out, which was likely another season of The Mandalorian, not a feature film, and that feature film debut would happen in this sort of Avengers style team-up adventure. I was looking forward to that. I thought that was a great way to go. Kathleen Kennedy was also looking forward to it, but remember, it was just about 9 months after she made the big announcement on the Celebration stage that Bob Iger overruled her and said, nope, the next movie's going to be Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. And Bob Iger said Baby Yoda. You know he did.
Sure he did. Or he probably just said that little green fella.
Right.
So that's the status then of Dave Filoni's film. And just to hear that it's actually being reported by Hollywood Reporter, which is a very reputable source, you better believe where there's smoke, there's fire. So Dave's probably just going to take his time getting settled in to his new role and not having to have anybody over his head, so to speak. And he's going to settle into that. But I don't think he's going to take his time with things. I'll tell you why. I saw some speculation online like, Dave's going to take a year to settle into his role, and he probably won't make any big announcements till Star Wars Celebration next year. Whoa, I think that kind of speculation is way off, because you obviously haven't been around corporate America when you get a new boss. They don't just sit around and take it easy. They want to prove themselves right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And they want to show that the right decision was made to hire them and put them in that position of power. And so I imagine we're going to be hearing a ton of announcements about the future of Star Wars in the first half of this year. I don't think they're going to be waiting for any convention center hallway to be making all these announcements. Now, of course, they will have announcements to make at that convention, but they're not going to stay silent for another year and
Filoni's
a half.
also not the type to sit on his hands, and you're right. That when there's a big shakeup like that at the top of any corporation, they know that they have precious time to make a big impression on shareholders, on their bosses, all of that. When it comes to Filoni and the way he tells stories, he mentioned in that clip, people that have been following me know that I plan this stuff out. It very well could be the case that he holds on to whatever sort of ultimate ending that he has in mind for this particular era of Star Wars storytelling. We know that he held on to Ahsoka's fate for a very, very long time, and inevitably, I think, decided. I think he had Ahsoka's fate as in she was going to die or something along those lines. Years before, when he whispered it into Ashley Eckstein's ear, that changed once I think the company saw what a bankable character Ahsoka was, and maybe rightly so. She got a reprieve. So he may be holding on to this, but you're absolutely right when you say that with this Mando Grogu movie, why would they eliminate the possibility of doing more of those by having this finale film already in the works?
I know.
I think that was probably part of Iger's decision. No, here's what we're going to do next, and we could do that later, but if this thing has legs, then we got ourselves a saga.
Absolutely. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah.
And, of course, we're rooting for The Mandalorian to do boffo box office so we get more Mandalorian films or a potential season 4. Now, Rick Famuyiwa, He's a guy who's directed some really great standout episodes of The Mandalorian. He's appeared on screen as an X-Wing pilot named Jib Dodger. And I guess he's a big LA Dodgers fan. A lot of times we see photos of him wearing a black Dodgers hat. So he must be a big LA Dodgers fan. And apparently, we're getting news here from The Wrap. They did an editorial that was critiquing Kathleen Kennedy's legacy at Lucasfilm, and they mentioned that Rick Famuyiwa, one of the executive producers of The Mandalorian, had developed a full series for a Star Wars series for Disney Plus, but it is in limbo, is what The Wrap is reporting. Famuyiwa was set to executive produce a Star Wars Disney Plus show, but the project is now in limbo. So perhaps they can pick it up. Maybe not. I think maybe the sour response to Mandalorian Season 3, in which Rick was elevated to the role of executive producer for that entire season. Season 3 fell a little flat compared to the previous 2 seasons. You know, I mean, that's a matter of taste and opinion, of course, but I think that's the general consensus. And Rick was heavily in charge of that season, so he may have damaged his reputation a little bit with Mandalorian Season 3. But if Filoni enjoys working with him, Jon Favreau enjoys working with him, I think there still is a future for Rick at Lucasfilm and Star Wars. It's just his particular series that he pitched is in limbo. So we didn't even know about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's hard to feel sad about something I didn't even know was even a possibility. But Rick's a talented guy, obviously, and has done a lot of great things in Star Wars. So I'm sure Filoni and Favreau will keep him around.
Daniel Glover and his Lando
Glover
film. What did I call him?
Daniel Glover, but it's so easy to do. I mean, Danny Glover.
Wasn't he the guy from those movies with that other guy?
Yeah.
Cops.
Lethal Weapon.
No, that wasn't. Danny Glover.
Right.
Of course, yeah. Lethal Weapon. Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Chris Rock. Donald Glover, he's been working on this Lando film. We've heard that it's a film, that it's a series. I think Kathy announced it as a series when it was brought to our attention in December 2020. But we've heard nothing about it. Kathy said in her exit interview that Glover turned in a script, but she didn't offer any opinion about it. I mean, she doesn't even seem like she actually even read the script, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, because she just had no opinion on it. But according to her, there still may be a heartbeat for the Donald Glover Lando film. It does have the status of still in development. So that's going to be a Filoni decision, whether or not to go forward with the Donald Glover film. I know Disney they're a little nervous about it because the Solo film lost money. It's the only Star Wars film to ever lose money. So why bring back elements from that flop to Disney Plus or silver screens once again? Also, something we should note is Donald Glover suffered a stroke over the last year. And we don't know how that affects his ability to act, write, or perform. He canceled his Childish Gambino tour, and I think he's still operating with all of his functions in place, but we just don't know. We don't know. And what does that mean for the future of Lando? I guess Donald Glover's brother, Steven, was also working on the script with him. Donald spoke publicly about how it's been a great experience to work with his brother, and there's a lot of passion and energy behind the work that they've done on this Lando script, but the status is uncertain right now. But I guess they're still working on it, so we'll have to wait and see. What do you think? Do you think that Lando film will ever get made, Jason?
No. No, I don't
either.
I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be any kind of standalone Lando anything, whether it be a TV series or a film. I think they've moved beyond the whole, character name, a Star Wars story. Mandalorian and Grogu is a little bit different. I don't because That's just a continuation of something that's already happened. But I don't look for any of these characters to get any close-ups. But in animation, yes. The Darth Maul thing, I think, is doesn't really count here. But as far as live action, no.
I don't think it'll be made either. And I'm just surprised that it's even in development at all, because Disney Star Wars, they haven't shown much love to the character of Lando Calrissian. He was completely ignored for the first 2 of the sequel films. He wasn't in The Force Awakens. He wasn't in The Last Jedi. Where was Lando? And he's not walking around Galaxy's Edge anytime soon either. So I'm just surprised. I think they just got a little bedazzled by Donald Glover's star power.
Yeah. Well, and
which
he was
might not
the brightest spot, arguably, in that film, which was, if you're the brightest spot in a film that's as dark as Solo was, I mean, is that really saying something? But he was. You did walk out of there saying, wow, Donald Glover really nailed that Lando Calrissian role.
Right. I don't know. To me, it just feels like parody. It feels like a Saturday Night Live bit. And it didn't help that Donald Glover appeared as the character on Saturday Night Live. That's permanently burned into my brain anytime I see. He was wearing the exact same wardrobe. And it was a hilarious bit, but, sometimes.
That's how he got the gig, apparently.
No, that's not how he got the gig. It was after the film was released, you nut.
Making love in space. Yeah, making love in space. You need a man though. Girl, come see Lando. Girl, making love in space.
Rebel Force Radio.
So, okay, Rian Johnson, good old Rye guy, of course. Our stance on anything Rian Johnson says about Star Wars is IDGAF. But in this case, this is news, so we have to talk about it, especially because it's hilarious. Kathleen Kennedy said that Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy, the status could actually be considered as on hold, on the shelf. We know what that means in Star Wars terms. On the shelf means you're never going to see it. But Kathleen Kennedy said that Rian got spooked by online negativity. He just got spooked. That's all that can be said about it. And that's why he hasn't returned to the fold to make his Star Wars trilogy. I think that's a bunch of bull. And I'll tell you why. I believe the way things went down was that Disney saw the reaction to The Last Jedi and knew they had to course correct. They immediately shut down any talk of a Rian Johnson trilogy. And they said to Rian, you got anything else you could work on while this fandom negativity cools down a little bit? And he's like, well, I got this Knives Out thing I've been kicking around. It's a mystery sort of thing. They're like, oh, Knives Out. Go do that, Rian. Go, Rian. Go. And they just want him out of their hair. Knives Out took off, became a big smash for him, spinning off 2 sequels and a series, Poker Face. And so now Ryan's too busy to do Star Wars. Well, that's perfect by design. And the whole idea of him getting spooked, that's really interesting because that changes the narrative of everything. Maybe they did want to continue with Rian. Rian, let's get together and work on that trilogy. We can't. Have you seen Twitter lately? Oh, don't worry about that, Rian. What are you getting all excited about? The YouTubers are saying, Rian, come on, be a professional. Man up.
Look,
cowboy up. Let's go.
I'm
Let's
not
get you
buying
back
it
in that
one
director's
bit.
chair.
Nobody liked to antagonize the fans, go after the fans. No one has a bigger ego, as big as his big head, than Rian Johnson, in my opinion. I don't think the guy got spooked. I think he would have relished the opportunity to come back to Star Wars and subvert even more of our expectations about our beloved heroes and characters. I think this is a guy that went on record as saying, I succeed when half the theater loves the film and the other half hates it. That's how he measures his success. This does not sound like a guy that gets spooked.
Yeah.
Not buying
that
it.
That works for quirky indie projects, but a big machine like Star Wars, take your personality and check it at the door, like we were saying a few weeks ago.
You know why else I think that he wasn't spooked, and that's because Rian Johnson himself says that he wasn't spooked when he went on Twitter. responded and said, LOL, zero spooked, sorry, in response to this Kathleen Kennedy story. So there's something going on with that relationship. I think you're onto something when maybe they saw how successful the Knives Out saga was becoming and how much money he was making for Netflix with that. And they said, hey, what about this? Hey, didn't we have a trilogy? Even though they broomed him off there a few years ago. And he probably was like, you know what? No, thanks. No, thanks. You showed me the door years ago. And now, because I'm back in the good graces of moviegoers and you want me back? No, thanks. And then Kathleen goes, I think he's scared. You know what, Ryan?
Yeah.
You're just scared. That's why you don't want to make a movie for us.
Spooked.
Yeah.
Yeah. He may have even said something like, oh, I got all this Knives Out stuff going on, and I really don't get the hate mail I got from Star Wars fans with the Knives Out crowd. So I think I'm just going to stay in that lane for a while. Thanks for the lunch, Kathy, but I got to run. And then he leaves. And the second he leaves, Kathy looks over at her assistant and goes, oh, he's spooked, isn't he?
Yeah,
Did you get that?
Right,
I got that. He's spooked. And so that's how Ryan developed. Ryan creates his own, he makes his own bed all the time.
Yeah.
So it's possible he was popping off to Kathy when he shouldn't have been. The funny thing about about him saying that he wasn't spooked, his response, he responds to an IGN post. IGN, geez, I didn't even know they were still around. IGN, are you kidding me? But they're still doing it. And the IGN post simply said, Star Wars The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson said to have been, quote, spooked by the online negativity while considering his future with the franchise. And so Ryan responded to that, LOL, zero spooked, sorry. But it never says anywhere in that post that Kathleen Kennedy says Last Jedi director Rian Johnson said to him. So if it did, because Ryan may have just been responding to the tweet,
the headline
from IGN,
right,
and not even realizing that it was something Kathy said. Maybe if he did know that, would he have made that tweet? That's what I'm saying.
Wow, that's a really good observation. Yeah.
So I don't know if he realized that information was coming from Kennedy herself when he shot it down. But it just seemed interesting that Ryan would then just jump into the ring like that, considering what an important role Kathy Kennedy has played in his whole career. I mean, he's so willing to jump into the public forums and dispute what she says, basically rob her of her integrity and her reliability as a source by saying this. But we also know Kathy has lied to fandom through her teeth countless times. I mean, more times than I could possibly count, the lies. That's what I'm excited for with Filoni, is that Filoni will mock you for asking the question, as opposed to this tap dance BS that Kathy Kennedy does all the time. If Dave doesn't want to answer, he'll shame you. Yeah, wouldn't you like to know? That's how Dave's always been. Kathy could never do that, because the big problem with Kathy is she didn't understand Star Wars. So she didn't understand what she could get away with saying and what she couldn't get away with saying, even though she was the head honcho of the whole thing. Because she didn't understand Star Wars, if somebody's not there holding her hand, she doesn't know if what she's saying is right or wrong.
She lacked any real depth of knowledge, so she couldn't really talk her way out of things in uncomfortable situations where a guy like Filoni that's so steeped in it, he can just talk circles around anybody. So he's much better. He's much better equipped for that type of thing. Whereas Kathy, I think if you didn't hand her the right talking points before she ran out on stage, she was going to say the wrong thing.
Right. So let's move on. Simon Kinberg's trilogy status in development. I think this is kind of the golden child at Lucasfilm right now. I think they got a lot riding on this trilogy. We know that Dave Filoni and Simon Kinberg have had a working relationship that goes all the way back to the development of Star Wars Rebels. So there's a history between the two of them. And according to Kathy Kennedy, Dave and Linwin are very much on board with what Simon is doing, and that would be a new trilogy. So, and we're hearing this would include Daisy Ridley along with a cast of upcoming characters, emerging characters. So maybe we'll see Daisy Ridley throw the lightsaber over her shoulder in this film. Who knows? But it echoes, it rhymes.
Yeah. No, she'll be a hero to the end. That Rey, don't worry about that.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, maybe she'll be serving more of a mentor role to the young generation, much like the original trilogy characters, Han, Luke, and Leia, should have been to the new characters.
Maybe we'll get resolution to that Broom Boy subplot that was
oh boy, I can't wait.
Cooking up there in Last Jedi.
Now that you said that, man, I'm really looking forward to this project seeing the light of day. But I think it will. I think Simon will keep plugging away. He turned in a treatment literally 4 weeks ago, about 70 pages.
Yeah.
So
Filoni will definitely find use for Simon. He'll find use for Simon Kinberg for sure.
He's expected to turn in a script in March. So if that gets the green light, this sucker can go into production really fast.
Yeah.
We shall see.
But this is the one, remember, that Kathleen Kennedy said that they had to upend the story. So it seems like, now that could be because that Charmin Obaid-Chinoy film is no longer happening. And so that opened the door for more Rey, a different side of the Rey story, who knows. But something happened that resulted in him having to create a whole new treatment.
Maybe it has something to do with the fact that Sean Levy has revealed that they rewrote the third act of Starfighter after the cameras started rolling. They completely revamped the entire third act. That might have something to do with why Simon's trilogy treatment is the story itself was rejected, and he has to go back and retool the whole thing. Because it's of changes that happened to Starfighter.
Right.
Well, that was in production. And so what about Star Wars Starfighter? If that film takes off in the theaters, are we going to see sequels to that film? I mean, we've heard time and time again that it's not their intention to spin off this film into things. They want it to be a standalone story, but they have this young actor, Flynn Gray, who apparently is turning a lot of heads and impressing a lot of folks, and they might see a future with him because he is so young. He could actually grow into an adult character who would have a lot of substance to offer to future Star Wars stories. So they're keeping that door open.
Yeah.
And it's a TBD kind of thing with whether or not sequels to Sean Levy's Star Wars Starfighter will emerge. I think that the focus will shift to the Kinberg trilogy, and that will pick up maybe some leftover loose ends from the Starfighter film.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's one of the reasons why we haven't heard much about some big finale to the Mandoverse, because they're going to be focused. I think they're going to be sidelining that and focusing on this era. And who knows, maybe they want to leave that open because at some point the nostalgia bug is going to kick in, and that Mando generation is going to want to see more Mando and Baby Yoda. I also think, though, Jim, there's something about, Pedro Pascal and his star has risen beyond heights I think anyone could have imagined when he started the role of Mandalorian. So he's tied to that character. I know that they don't need him there on set very much, but he's very much tied to that character. So that could throw in some limitations, availability, all of those things that complicate continuing the Mandoverse without Mando. So shifting to the Sean Levy and then having a whole new thing in the works with Kinberg, I think that's probably the smarter play. May not be what I want to see necessarily, but it's probably the smarter play. Keep forging new territory.
I think that's how it's going to shake out, actually, exactly how you described it. And then turning the clock back all the way to the very beginning of Star Wars, James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi film, status on hold. Kathleen Kennedy said Jim Mangold and Bo Williman wrote an incredible script, but it's definitely breaking the mold and it's on hold. She seems to indicate to us the reason it's on hold is because it's breaking the mold.
Right.
And Disney being risk adverse, they want Star Wars that stays in its lane and doesn't rock the boat too much, at least as of now. So we know Bo Williman is a great writer who worked on the Andor series. So is it breaking the mold as far as offering us a more mature and R-rated take on Star Wars? Possibly. So we'll see about that film. They turned in a script. It doesn't appear that Lucasfilm nor the Disney brass really think it's worth green lighting, and so that film is on hold.
That's something else, because those aren't a couple of lightweights, those two.
No.
I mean, those are some heavyweights, and they would beyond treatment. They wrote a script and turned it in, and it's on hold. Now, remember, Kathleen Kennedy said in that exit interview that anything's possible if somebody's willing to take a risk. Now, that was in context with the Soderberg film. And that was definitely, as we talked about, a shot across the bow, I think, at Disney executives on this risk aversion that you were just alluding to. And this Mangold film seems to be cut from the same cloth as the Soderberg. It was a risk, or is seen as a risk.
Yeah. There's a lot of risky things going on here. And the most risky thing I think of all is hiring a Pakistani documentary director who's never directed a tentpole film in her life, nor has she directed a feature film, really, not here in Hollywood, and giving her the keys to the car. I think that's insane. But yet Charmin Obaid-Chinoy still sticks around, and it seems like they've thrown a lot of resources into trying to dig that film out of developmental hell. And I think it speaks volumes that Kathy Kennedy didn't mention the film at all in her exit interview. But comments from Daisy Ridley while she was out there promoting her most recent film, she said that they're waiting on a new script and it'll be worth the wait. But that's just Daisy being a cheerleader. Sure. The reality of this situation is that they've had 3 separate teams of writers working on this script. Some real heavy hitters, too, in the industry, like Stephen Knight, who's moved on to work on the new Bond film. And, of course, Damon Lindelof, the guy behind Lost, one of the most successful TV shows ever. They can't crack the code. And George Nolfi, a pretty safe choice as a script writer, has been apparently banging away at this thing for the last year. And that's after there was so much trailblazing going on before he got there. So what's taking so long with this thing? Maybe it's just an impossible film to make, and they know that every idea they come up with and they collaborate with Charmin Obaid-Chinoy on is a dud. And that's the only thing I can think of, is that Charmin Obaid-Chinoy is bringing a big plate of turds to the banquet table and nobody is digging in. That's what's going on here. So that film's on hold, but I'm not ruling it dead in the water quite yet because of how much time and money has been spent on this thing. And they stubbornly keep pushing forward with developing this film that does not want to be developed. So
I think the universe is trying to tell them something and they just don't want to listen. But maybe,
for sure.
Look, this is all, and we've got a few more of these, but just to remind everybody, these are the crumbs that Kathleen Kennedy left behind for Dave Filoni. Now, he's the guy that's going to decide inevitably whether these are picked up. And Jim, you said that you predicted there was going to be some decisive action from Filoni very quickly this year. And some of it may be not what to do, but what not to do, because deciding what not to do is just as important as deciding what to do. And I would have no problem if Dave came in and just cleaned house and unclogged the drains of all of these half-baked projects
that are going nowhere and that they're spending money on. So one of those projects would be Steven Soderbergh and Adam Driver's The Hunt for Ben Solo. Now, we know this has been rejected by the Disney top brass, but Kathleen Kennedy in her exit interview seemed to think that there was still a heartbeat with this project. Crazy. And she says Soderberg and Adam Driver turned in a script written by Scott Burns. It was just great. Anything's a possibility if someone's willing to take a risk. She's calling out Bob Iger right there in that statement. She's saying it was a great script. Why isn't it being put in front of cameras? Well, there's risky elements in the script that Bob Iger can't get around. Most notably, isn't Ben Solo dead? Didn't we kill him off at the end of the last film? Why are we making another movie about him? Does anybody think about this stuff before we produce it? Why am I giving you money? You know, you could just imagine, see Bob Iger, the veins in his forehead popping out, just getting more upset of this absurd notion that a character that was killed off in the last film is now suddenly back. What is this, Search for Spock? Come on. That's what Bob Iger probably said.
Right. And meanwhile, you go up and down the toy aisles at your department stores, and what do you see? Baby Yoda. That's what you see. Right now, go to Target and you look at what's left of the Star Wars section. You might find a couple of Lando swinging from the pegs, but underneath that is going to be all kinds of Baby Yoda stuff.
You know why so many Landos swing from the pegs? Because Lando swings, baby. All right.
Oh, he's swinging.
So we got Taika Waititi's film, still said to be in development. Taika turned into a script that Kathy says is great and hilarious.
Oh, it's a romp. I love it.
The hilarious part, makes me nervous. But we know Taika Waititi works in the realms of comedy a lot. And it would be shocking if he turned in a script that was void of humor. But to say it's hilarious when, it's like, I don't know if that's, the wacky Star Wars thing. You guys tried doing that with Lord and Miller in the Solo film, and it just didn't work. You said, Kathy Kennedy, the Solo film was fundamentally flawed from the get-go. And, I think it's because they were attempting to take a comedic approach. And the second they got Alden in front of those cameras and they were looking at the dailies, they're like, oh my God, he's nowhere near Harrison Ford in terms of being able to fill up a frame of film and own the scene.
Yeah.
Harrison always owns every scene he's in. Alden comes off as like a prop sometimes. So that's what I think that the Taika Waititi film, again, he's a flavor of the month. He was
definitely a flavor of the month pick for sure.
Yeah. The Thor movie didn't do him any favors, but he certainly has done a lot in the wake of the Thor film. And before that, Jojo Rabbit was nominated for all those Academy Awards. He does that What We Do in the Shadows series that was hugely successful. And I think that as long as Taika Waititi's still banging around Hollywood and he has ideas for Star Wars, they're going to at least listen to him. And he turned in a full script. So maybe there's a possibility that project might see the light of day. What do you think?
I also think this isn't going to happen. I don't think they're going to take a risk on a Star Wars comedy film. I think Star Wars is great when it has comedic moments, but again, just like the insert character name, close-up, standalone story, I think that whole concept is dead. I think this idea of genre hopping within the Star Wars universe is also dead. You don't see any of that with Mando Grogu or the Sean Levy Starfighter film. We're not being told that this is a blank film, or this is it's just about making a good Star Wars story, and I think that's what their focus is. I think that's what Kinberg's focus is going to be. So I think these are all relics. These are all relics of the Kathleen Kennedy era. To me, they don't have any signs of being a part of the future of Star Wars under a Dave Filoni or any other president, for that matter, other than Kathleen Kennedy, because she was running around trying to chase these, like we said, flavors of the month, flavors of the week. Talented people. This is not to say that they're not talented, but I think the reason that they were chosen leaves much to be desired. They should be chosen because they are the best director for a story that they want to tell. I don't like this idea of, hey, filmmakers, just bring us a bunch of ideas. Just bring us a bunch of Star Wars scripts and treatments and ideas, and we'll pick. No, I think that the story should be told internally, and I hope that that's what Dave Filoni does. I think Dave Filoni should be orchestrating the story and bringing in great writers and great directors to help him execute that story. Singular vision here. Otherwise, you just get a bunch of soup.
Yeah, not good soup like Chunky, more like generic brand.
So should we talk about Mads Mikkelsen? It's always good to get this sort of perspective from these actors years after the fact, and I don't think we've had a lot from Mads reflecting on Andor, or excuse me, on Andor, on Rogue One. Right. And we get this here with something from, I think this is from Variety.
This is from Variety, and Variety sat down with Mads while he's out promoting his latest film, Dust Bunny. Mads, they threw various lines at him from films he was in and just asked him for his thoughts about the films, and he opened up a little bit about Rogue One. Of course, Rogue One infamously had a lot of... it was a bumpy road, to say the least, when it came to making that film. And it had many different versions of scripts and storylines and conclusions, and a lot of it was filmed and then thrown away. And so Mads discusses the uncertainty of shooting Rogue One and the changes that happened along the way.
Yeah, for a Star Wars film, it was surprisingly unfinished in the script. It kept changing. And one would think that that was already done. I don't think they ever locked a draft. I think they kept working on it and improvised and went back and reshot stuff and then came up with a better idea, which is kind of livable for a character like mine. I mean, I had my mission, I knew what it was, but it was obviously tricky for the two young heroes not knowing exactly what they were carrying into a room of baggage. But I think, as I said, it turned out to be a really nice film.
Yeah, absolutely, Mads. Hats off to you all that are involved in it. It's still a bright spot looking at the last 14 years of Star Wars under the Disney banner. But interesting, Jim, that he says it was obviously challenging for the two young leads. He's referring to Diego and her name just flew out of my head.
Jen Erso.
Jen Erso actress.
Felicity Jones.
Says it was obvious it was challenging for them with all of the stuff that was up in the air and not knowing what baggage they were taking with them from scene to scene. And it sounds like the Galen Erso stuff was pretty well ironed out and straightforward from the get-go, so he wasn't really impacted by these changes. But Diego and Felicity definitely were.
Oh, yeah, without question. Yeah, you don't know what baggage you're carrying into a room. It almost sounds like he's specifically talking about those Death Star plans, you know?
Yeah, right.
But I think he meant more like the emotional weight that the characters were dealing with was shifting with the wind. And so it's difficult to find any level of consistency in your performance when your character's motivations and purpose even is changing on the fly while the film is being shot. Mads himself said they never even locked in a script.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even till like the last day, things were getting changed and shifted around. And
see, to me, that sounds pretty radical, but I wonder if that's one of those things that we'll hear from FJ and our Jedi Council saying, this happens all the time. You know, very few movies these days have a locked down script. I don't think so, though. I think that's pretty rare.
I don't think so either.
Because that means money. That costs money when you don't have a roadmap to where you're going.
A ton.
Yeah.
A ton of money. So Mads, you know, he's talking finally. You know, somebody's filling us in. You know, you hear things all the time about Rogue One. Usually, Tony Gilroy has been the best source of information.
Yeah, slowly but surely that story is coming out. You know, but it's going to take a long time.
I wish somebody would write a book, When do these NDAs expire? Do they ever?
Well, think
That's
about
the thing
that.
with Star Wars.
Adam Driver was able to talk about his film because the NDA had expired. So
Yeah, but his film was never made, so...
But there was still an NDA. There was still an NDA.
Yeah.
That's why he was able to talk about it, because it had been enough time had passed. But that's interesting that you say that, because maybe if the film's not made, there's this much smaller window versus if something was actually made, maybe the statute of limitations, or that window is much longer. Who knows?
Yes, indeedy.
I'll tell you what, Jim, after 20 years, almost 20 years podcasting with you, I never thought I was going to see the name Salman Rushdie on a Rebel Force Radio rundown, but you never cease to find ways to surprise each and every week. So tell me, what the hell does Salman Rushdie have to do with Star Wars? By the way,
Well,
great
this is
Curb
really
Your
interesting.
Enthusiasm cameo by Salman.
Yeah, that's right. With Elizabeth Banks. When Salman
fatwa.
Rushdie convinces
The fatwa, or what?
Larry David to go because what was she the fatwa?
Right.
They had a term for it when the ladies throw themselves at you because the fatwa has been declared on you.
Yes, you have an argument with your spouse, your partner, or whatever, and you have makeup sex. Well, Larry was talking about fatwa sex.
right, yeah. And so Salman Rushdie, convinced Larry to go talk to Elizabeth Banks at a restaurant. And Elizabeth Banks just seems like the most wonderful person in the world in that episode.
Yeah, she does.
She's awesome. She's awesome until she's had enough of LW.
Oh.
But okay, so I'm not. It's because of our audience. We have an audience who's constantly out there combing all mediums to find us Star Wars and pop culture moments, and this one isn't in Star Wars and pop culture proper. If you hit the intro, it could be.
All right. Well, let's
Rebel Force Radio.
You've already made that Star Wars reference.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars parody.
Look, we got to it this week. See how that works?
Yeah, so Salman Rushdie in Star Wars and pop culture, and this is a tip that comes from loyal RFR listener Zerzo G. Penalta. And Zerzo, if I pronounce your name correctly, let me know, and if I butchered it, let me know. I've never seen a name like Zerzo before. Xurxo. Zerzo. Right? I would think.
I think so.
Yes. So he writes to us and lets us know about this Salman Rushdie interview on 92 NY Talks. It's done in front of a live audience, and it's a conversation conducted by a guy named Daniel Kelman. And Daniel and Salman have a relationship beyond a podcast interview. They actually know each other and are friendly with each other. So they're in front of this live audience to talk about Salman's new book, The 11th Hour. And Salman shares a story about Star Wars. But before he gets to that, he and the moderator, Daniel Kelman, they go back and forth and talk a little bit about the Kenobi series and what they're. Yes.
Wait a minute. Salman Rushdie is breaking down the Kenobi series? Okay.
There is something of a breakdown happening here of the Kenobi series. So I know. And actually, I find this interesting because I just rewatched the Kenobi series.
Right.
With a very open mind about it. And here's Salman Rushdie and Daniel Kelman from 92 NY Talks discussing the Kenobi series.
The thing to know about Salman is that I know very few people, if anyone, who is that, of course, obviously well-read in world literature, but also so interested in popular culture. He's one of the few people. I have a son who's now actually not that interested anymore in watching Marvel films and Star Wars shows. But when I had to watch all the stuff with him, there was one person I could always talk to about these shows, texting about them, and that was you. So that was actually quite amazing. That even I remember we were watching Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So bad.
And it was so bad.
So bad.
Which was a big disappointment, right?
Very disappointing. But not as disappointing as the prequel of The Lord of the Rings.
Which does actually get better in the second season.
So you say. So you say. I didn't return.
When I texted you, isn't it amazing how unbelievably bad this is about Obi-Wan? And you texted bad, so bad, and that was only a little bit, I think, 6 weeks or 7 weeks after the attacks on you. So
is that right? It was maybe the first thing I watched.
Apparently, exactly.
I mean, there was a period of time where I couldn't watch anything. And how depressing that the first thing I watched was...
Because we had such high hopes if they'd take Obi-Wan and Vader.
And it was you know, it had Ewan McGregor back again.
Dude, I am floored. I never knew that Salman Rushdie was such a Star Wars fan. It's clear he's a Star Wars fan. He's like, and they had Ewan McGregor back, and like, I'm just blown away. This is so cool.
He even keeps up with Lord of the Rings and the Lord of the Rings show on the Amazon Prime. He bailed, though.
And Salman Rushdie, the reason it's such a big deal, I mean, he's an intellectual. I mean, he is a major author and, thinker and philosopher. Never thought that he swam in these waters. Maybe he's a listener to Rebel Force Radio. Who knows? Salman, if you're listening,
Salman Rushdie,
we'd love to have you in the cantina, Salman.
Yeah, definitely. Show at rebelforceradio.com, man. Drop us an email. But you want to swim in some waters. Wait till you get to this story where Salman shares this time he had dinner with a couple of Star Wars superstars. So check this out.
One of my dear friends was Carrie Fisher. Mm-hmm. It's extraordinary to have, like, Princess Leia as your friend. And there's a moment when I was in London and she was in London, and there was a performance of Othello with Ewan McGregor playing Iago and Chiwetel Ejiofor playing Othello. And it was like the hottest ticket in London, and nobody could get a seat for love or money. But Carrie had the secret weapon, which was the Star Wars weapon. So she called Ewan and she said, Obi-Wan, I want some tickets. And since she's the princess, he could not deny her. So I went with Carrie to see the show. And afterwards, I had this extraordinary experience of Carrie Fisher and Ewan McGregor and me having dinner together. And Ewan said to her, you know the speech that comes out of R2-D2, help us Obi-Wan Kenobi? He said, do you remember it? She said, of course I fucking remember it. And he said, can you do it? And she completely, like, she became immediately, boom, she was Princess Leia. And she did the whole speech, except the funny ending was that she said, you know, the video doesn't quite end in the film.
Which is a very good idea,
right? It's cut off. Yeah. So she says, actually what she says is, help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope.
Yeah.
And Ewan was so moved. He said, you know, I've had the incredible experience of having Princess Leia doing the speech to me. I'll never forget it. And I was just the audience, but I've never forgotten it.
What an amazing story. And I think the thing that impresses me the most is that Ewan McGregor is, you know, here's a private dinner with these three people, and he geeks out a little bit and asks, a lot, and asks Carrie to give him the speech. It just makes me so happy that even Ewan McGregor is like, wow, I got to, create this moment. And it's just cool. When you think about, whether these actors are jaded or, or whether they get it, and Ewan gets it. It's not lost on him. And it's just awesome.
He recognized, probably the importance of the situation there with him sitting across the table, breaking bread with Carrie Fisher. And of course, Carrie Fisher wouldn't just do that for anyone. It required the charm of a Ewan McGregor, and Salman Rushdie is the lone audience member.
All right. As the kids say, this was not on my bingo card that we would be hearing a story about these three. But, the fact that Salman Rushdie and Carrie were friends also speaks very highly of the intellect of Carrie Fisher that was sort of hidden behind this brassy, swear like a sailor type. But everyone, and I remember Harrison Ford, after she passed, he talked about how bright she was, how sharp her intellect was. And I don't think you could hang with a Salman Rushdie if you didn't have something to offer at a dinner conversation.
Absolutely. So that's a great story from or was it a fever dream from Salman Rushdie? But what a great one. So thanks for the tip, Zerzo. And continue listening to RFR. We'll be back next week with more Star Wars and pop culture, time permitting.
Chewie, get us out of here!
All right, that's going to wrap things up here this week. It's great to be back at a time when there's just too much Star Wars news to cover in one show. We've got some things that we will be getting to next week, so fear not. We'll be following up on some of these Dave Filoni rumors. I know you've been hearing them about what Dave likes, what Dave doesn't like. But hey, it's a brand new era. There's always going to be something, I think, new and exciting to talk about. As Mac predicted, he's thinking that Filoni's going to be acting swiftly and decisively over the next few months. And there will be news breaking here on Rebel Force Radio. Don't worry about that. All right. If you need more Rebel Force Radio in your life, and why wouldn't you? You want to check out Rebel Force Radio over on Patreon. Just check them out, patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. You'll get the weekly full show video, also exclusive podcasts that you can't find anywhere else, like the Babu Freaks and the Q&A. What else you got over there, Babu Freaks, Q&A, and
RFR RPG.
RFR. I always forget about the RPG. That's where Jimmy Mack is learning how to game, how to role play.
It's a slow process when it comes to learning.
The Adventures of Podcastus, which may be one of the greatest Star Wars names of all time. But it is a great community of Star Wars fans. You hear many of them on our after shows and our voicemails that are dropped. So if you want to hang out with cool people like that, you can do so over on Patreon. As Mac also mentioned, we've been dropping some new things over on YouTube, and that costs you absolutely nothing. So check that out, Rebel Force Radio on YouTube. Also our socials, Instagram and Facebook. And the official website for all things and everything, Rebel Force Radio, rebelforceradio.com. Keep listening, keep subscribing, keep following this podcast, and keep recommending it to your friends. And if your podcatcher of choice allows you to leave a review, we'd love to have that as well. Just one simple, small rule, please.
Make them good.
All right. So until next week and more Rebel Force Radio, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
Bob Iger can kiss my ass. I did it my way.